Printers and multifunction devices. In this lesson, we're going to look at different types of printers and different functionality that they may have. We're going to also look at multifunction devices and look at the different types of devices as well as printer technology. So let's go ahead and get started. When you're setting up a printer, whether it's in a small office or a business, you want to make sure it's in the right place that's going to be central for all its users. Before installing the printer, find the best location for it. If it's a home-based printer, you may want to choose a convenient but out of the heavy traffic or an out of the way area. If it's in an office setting, having the printer centrally located is the best so users can access the device to retrieve their print jobs. Consider the users and how easy or difficult it would be for them to get to the printer. Also, consider connectivity. For a wireless printer, you want to make sure that it's not too far away from the wireless access point. Make sure you have a good signal. Check the signal before final placement. If it's a wired printer, you're going to need a RJ45 wall jack near the printer where it's going to be in its final location. After connectivity is finalized, make sure the device is on a flat, stable surface. After you determine the location, be sure to carefully unbox the device. You may need a box cutter or some type of other device to cut the boxing and the packaging away from the printer without damaging the printer. Scissors would do fine as well. Avoid dropping the printer as much as possible. Some printers are very heavy, so they may be easy to drop. Employ team lifting if needed. Now, if this is a laser printer with toner cartridges installed, don't turn it on its side or upside down. That could damage those cartridges. Most printers will come with a quick setup guide, often a glossy poster size printout. That will show you how to properly unbox or connect the device. When done with the box, you think you may need to remove all the printer later or recycle all the packaging material once you finish everything, getting everything set up. After that printer's set up, you want to make sure that you're employing the correct printer drivers for that printer. Now, printer drivers are specific to the type, brand, and model of the printer. A wrong driver will not work or cause your outputs to either be garbled or not print at all. OS operating system versions may have different drivers, so check with the manufacturer based on the operating system that you're trying to connect your printer to. Other considerations that you want to be aware of is system versions, the x84 versus the x64. Those driver types are very different, and one will not work with the other. Also make sure that when you do retrieve the drivers, that you're getting the latest drivers possible. You don't want to get an older driver and have to do an update later. So make sure you have the latest. That will ensure that all the bugs and fixes are finished and finalized, and so you're getting the proper product. Printer control language, PCL versus PostScript. We're going to look at two different control languages. But before we do that, let's look at the page description language. Now, the page description language describes the whole page being printed or send or printed to. In this printer control language, it works by sending commands that describes the text, the margins, and other settings. The controller in the printer interprets these commands and turns them into laser pulses or pinch tracks or whatever type of printer that you're using. Now, there were several printer control languages, but the printer control language in PostScript is what we'll discuss here. Now, the first page description language was PostScript, and this was developed by Adobe. It was first used by the Apple Laser Writer printer. It made printing graphics fast and simple. The PostScript driver describes the page in a draw and position command type way of doing it. Commands dividing the page into a grid. And these commands would tell the printer to draw a line on a page at a certain coordinate. And that's how the images were the result of the images. When HP developed PCL, it was originally for inkjet printers and as a competitor to the PostScript. PCL has expanded. It's used virtually in every printer type. It's the default de facto standard. Now, PostScript was used more for graphics, whereas PCL was used more for text-based documents. Our printers and multi-function devices connect in several different ways. It says you come across printers and multifunction devices, you'll see that there's going to be a variety of different connection methods that connect them to end users' computers or networks. USB is probably one of the most popular interfaces used in printers. Um, the faster they're faster than the older serial and parallel printers, and they were easy to use and automatically recognize. Some models you had to use drivers, but for the most part, USB was quick and easy and fast. Also, there's Ethernet. Many printers on the market now have wired Ethernet connectivity. They have either on the onboard network interface card or a place to put a card. Now, and this made printing to printers very convenient, very fast, especially with ROM-based software that allow the printer to act as any other network device, meaning you can web into the device, configure it with an IP address, and look at other settings as well. Ethernet first was seen in the larger commercial printers, but now it's commonly available in even in home printers. And also, there's wireless connectivity. Wireless has come a long ways as well, and it's found its way into printers. Wireless connectivity works well for printers because of placement. Sometimes you may not have an Ethernet cable or a jack in a location that you want a printer, and there's not a host computer that can connect by USB. Wireless would be the perfect solution for that. Wireless printers or printers that support wireless, they support nearly all of the 802.11 protocols. Some of them even support the Bluetooth and other wireless technologies as well. Now, when you have a printer set up, especially in the home or small office environment, you want to share that printer with other users, even in the business environments. And you want to set up what's called a printer share. Now, a printer share is basically sharing the access to that printer to other users in the network through the computer that you're on. Now, the printers can connect it directly to that host computer, and it's shared through the operating system utility. In this example, it's the Microsoft Office printer properties where you can go in and share the printer through the share properties there. Now, one drawback to this is that the computer needs to be on at all times, or other people's print jobs will not be able to print. Also, there's something called a print server. Now, a print server is a device that hosts a printer on the network. Now, the hardware device, it could be basically a hardware device that hosts a serial printer, a USB printer, or any other type of connection, and it plugs into the network. It makes that printer network capable. Now, the network device that integrates with the printer, this integration was later taken and put inside the printer, and that's how network printers were born. In this setup with print servers, the print jobs are sent directly to that printer, so there's no host computer involved. Configuration settings. There's a lot of settings that you need to be aware of with printers. Our printers can do so many different things and have so many different settings, and these are the most common ones that you'll see when you're setting up a printer. The first one would be duplex. Duplexing is the ability to print on both sides of the paper. Saves on paper when you have multiple pages. Some models flip the paper automatically to print on the other side, and that feature is not available in all printers. Also, you want to make sure of the orientation, portrait versus landscape. Now, the printer changes the print based on the selection. The paper does not rotate, but you can have an image instead of printing it on a portrait, you can print it landscape wise. So you make sure you have that set up correctly because that's commonly one of the mistakes a lot of users make is not choosing the correct orientation. Other settings that you need to be aware of is the tray settings. Some printers have multiple trays and paper sizes. Also, those paper sizes may be different quality paper, like a heavier type paper. So make sure that you select the correct paper size. And also, there's a lot of quality settings that you need to be aware of. You can choose the resolution, you can choose color saving options, grayscale, or you can choose it to print in color. Now, as we get into more sensitive and documents that we don't want to get out into the public, there's a lot of security that's been introduced to our printers as well. Now, this is not just for sensitive documents, but also the separation of users or certain users using certain devices. User authentication. A user will need to authenticate for higher functions. They go into the printer, and a standard user can only just do print jobs and make changes to some of the configuration settings, but not higher settings. Um, if they put in the proper credentials, they can have access to higher printer configurations. Badging is another security feature that's seen in printers. Um, with a user authentication, the user would put a username and password onto the screen. Badging makes that quicker and easier. Well, the employee or the user can present a badge to the badge reader, and it'll allow them access to different areas. After gaining access through the presenting the badge, they have access to secure printing features and other configuration items. Secured prints. Secured prints is a way to print sensitive information to a printer. Imagine if you were a user and you had very sensitive documents that needed to be printed. Instead of printing that document or waiting to the printer is clear or printing and waiting and hoping that no one will see the document, secured printing is a way that you could print that document, walk over to the device and put in an authentication code or log into it, and it'll print that device, that document while you're there at the device. So that's a secured print, and that was for sensitive documentation or things that we do not want to for anyone's eyes to come across. A lot of times in printers, you'll come across audit logs, and audit logs are used in many different ways in our printing. They can monitor access and usage. Say, for instance, if you have a business and you have a cost management situation where there's different departments that split the cost of that printer and the supplies and the ink and toner and so forth. The audit logs would help monitor and track what departments use or had so much usage of that printer. Now, these audit logs sometimes are built right into the printer, or it can be integrated within the Windows Event Viewer. Automatic document feeder, or ADF, and a flatbed scanner. These are just other functions that a printer would have. Say, for instance, for scanning, if you want to scan a document into a printer, you can use the automatic document feeder. Available in multiple style machines, copiers, all in ones, commercial computers, as well as small office, or home user computers. Sometimes they have an automatic document feeder. It can scan multiple pages in one job. Some models have duplex scanning as well. Another way to introduce a document into a printer is through a flatbed scanner. And this is incorporated into many style machines as well. You may see this in copiers and sometimes in all-in-ones or as a standalone scanner device. Now, a flatbed scanner would generally scan pages just one page at a time. So after you scan your document, there is a number of ways that you can share that scanned image or that digital image of that paper copy. You can email it. A lot of printers have scan to email function where it'll convert it to a PDF or a JPEG or a TIFF image. There's normally a utility software to help automate that process, and you can scan to email to email that document. Or you can scan to a folder, an SMB folder to be exact. That uses the message server block protocol. And again, you can scan that document and make a digital copy on a network folder share somewhere, either on a computer or on a server. Now, the device would need to be configured beforehand to scan to that folder due to permissions. Also, you can scan to cloud. You can automatically configure that scanner to scan directly to a Dropbox, OneDrive, or any other type of cloud share that you have across the internet. Okay, in this lesson, we went over printers. We went over different printer languages. We looked at different connectivities with your printer, USB, Ethernet, wireless, how to share a printer and print servers. We talked about common configuration settings, security, as well as network scan features and services. So I want to thank you for being a part of this lesson, and I will see you in the next lesson.